In this section, we will learn about the compound interest formula. When interest is computed on the principal and any previously earned interest is called compound interest. When interest is calculated once a year, we say that it's compounded annually. In many cases, interest is computed at more frequent intervals than that. It can be compounded semi-annually, which is twice a year, quarterly, which is 4 times a year, monthly, 12 times a year, or even daily, which is every day. So this is the compound interest formula. A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N raised to the N times T. A is the future value. R is the yearly interest rate in decimal form. N is the number of times per year the interest is compounded. And T is the term of the investment in years. So let's look at this example. Suppose that $5,000 is invested for 3 years at 8%. Find the amount of compound interest if interest is calculated once a year. Also find the future value. So given this formula, we have to calculate the future value first before we can figure out the interest. They told you in this problem that interest is calculated once a year. So we are going to say that this is compounded annually. Okay, compounded annually. All right, so let's write out the information that was given to us. They tell us that the principal amount, the amount invested, is $5,000. They told you that it's invested at a rate of 8%, which is 0.08. They tell you that the time that it was invested, it's been invested for 3 years, and the N is the number of compound periods, is compounded once a year since it's annually. So we are going to put everything back into this formula. A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N raised to the NT. So this will be A is equal to 5,000 times 1 plus 0.08 all over N. N is 1. We're going to raise it to the N times T. So that will be 1 times 3. Well, the stuff in parentheses I can do. I know 0.08 divided by 1 is just 0.08. I'm going to add that with the 1. We get 1.08 raised to the third power. Next, I'm going to take 1.08 and raise it to the third power. Now, you may get a long number. My calculator is set to round, but if you get a long number, don't round it. Use the long number. So I get 1.26. Next, I'm going to multiply that with the 5,000. Okay. When I multiply it with the 5,000, I get $6,298.56. So this is my future value. This means when I invest my $5,000 in the bank, I leave it there for 3 years. It's compounded annually at 8%. At the end of my 3 years, I'll have $6,298.56. Okay, so this is my future value. So to figure out how much interest I made, I'm going to take my future value, subtract off what I invested. So I'm going to subtract off the 5,000. I get $1,298.56. This is how much money I made in interest, which is pretty good. Okay, let's look at another problem. We're going to find the future value in interest on $7,000 compounded quarterly at 3% for 5 years. So let's write out the information that was given to us. They told us that the principal amount is $7,000. They told you that it's compounded quarterly, so it's compounded 4 times a year at a rate of 0.03. The time is 5 years. This is equal. We're going to plug everything back into the formula, and we're going to calculate the future value. All right, so this will be A is equal to 7,000 times parentheses 1 plus the rates is 0.03 all over n, which is 4 raised to the 4 times t, 5. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the stuff in parentheses first. When I do the stuff in parentheses, I get 1.008 raised to the 20th power. So the first thing I did was I took 0.03, divided it by 4. Whatever answer I got, I added it with the 1. Now I'm going to take 1.008 and I'm going to raise it to the 20th power. Like I said, you might get a long number. If you get a long number, use that long number. Do not round. Use the long number. In my case, like I said, my calculator is set to round. And your calculator may be set to round as well. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to multiply that 1.161 times 7,000. I get 8128.29. You always round your final answer. Always round the final answer. So this is my future value. My future value. This is my A. So to figure out how much interest I earn, I'm going to take my future value and subtract off the 7,000. I get $1,128.29. This is how much was earned in interest after 5 years. The next problem says find the future value in interest on $11,000 compounded daily at 5% for 6 years. Let's assume daily, there's 365 days in a year. Some banks do it with different days. They may do it with 360, but that's a whole different rule that we won't get into. So in this case, we know our P is 11,000 at a rate of 0.05. They did this for 6 years and it's compounded daily. So my N is 365. Let's plug everything back into our equation. Okay, so this might get a little tricky because we got the 365. But first I'm going to take 0.05 divided by 365. Whatever answer I get, I'll add it to 1. Okay, so I took 0.05 divided it by 365 and I added with 1 and I got 1. But we're going to raise this to the 365 times 6. Alright, so just a second, let me double check, make sure I did that right. I said 5%, yes. N is 365, yes. N times T. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to. Alright, here we go. My calculator was really going crazy for a minute. So this should be 1.000137. I'm going to raise it to the 365 times 6, which is 2,198. $1,347.90. And I get 1.349872. I'm going to multiply that by the 11,000 and I get 14,848.59. All right, so now what I'm going to do is this is my future value, so this is my A. Oh, I did not mean to do that. That was crazy. Sorry about that. All right, so now what I'm going to do is to figure out the interest, I'm going to subtract off the 11,000. And you should get $3,848.59. This is your interest. Okay, that is the end of this video.